there guys, it's Joey, and this is going to be a video concerning the Morrigan and crystals, and we're going to finish up with a crystal grid. And the purpose of a crystal grid for the Morrigan is literally to put a grid together in a sort of offering, a grid to resonate and put energies out into the universe of gratitude and honour and things of that nature. And I mentioned in my Morrigan the Balance video about the energies of garnet, and I was thinking and mulling around that a little bit more, and I was thinking about how by explaining perhaps some of the energies that I associate with the Morrigan in her many facets, it might help sort of portray how I feel her energy to be within terms of crystals and like things you can physically connect to, rather than the misinterpretations that sometimes I feel put out there. So what I did is I wrote down all of the crystals that I personally felt connected into the Morrigan's energy. I didn't take any correspondences from anywhere, and I recommend not, because it's going to be slightly different for everybody, and this is not an exhaustive list, but it's just an idea as a thought. And if you had a different goddess, you could set up a little different crystal grid for whomever you follow or acknowledge, etc. But for this purpose we're going to be talking about the Morrigan. So the first crystal, and I've got quite a few different ones, so we will put a few different types of the crystal on camera. And we're about there. I think we might need to zoom in a little. About there. I think that's good. So yes, I have quite a few of these. I love it. I love it. This is Smoky Quartz, as you may or may not be able to tell. Now, Smoky Quartz is one of my spirit stones. It's a stone I connect with spirituality through. And because of most of my spirituality connects back to my path with the Morrigan, therefore connecting with spirit is more or less connecting with her for me. It's the stone I would probably associate most with Babe, and I have always had Smoky Quartz in relation to Babe, and it's a good stone for prophecy and divination purposes and sort of glimpsing things into the future. And I actually, if I reach over without becoming in shot, there we go, I can manage that. This is my seer stone, which is a Smoky Quartz, and I have a pendulum there which is Smoky Quartz of course as well. So they all help me with any prophetic work, and for me the prophetic work is tied in with Babe's energies, the crone energies, the stirring of the cauldron energies. It also removes all negative energy and transmutes it, transforms it, revitalizes it into positive energy. And when you are perhaps setting up a grid to work with deity, that's something that I would highly recommend. So that's the first one, and we will move everything slowly. There we go. Right, what else do we have here? What should we go next? Okay, so the next one is probably reasonably obvious, which is Obsidian. And you can use all forms of obsidian in my personal opinion for the Morrigan. However, I have a huge range here and we're going to talk about it. We've got some rough pieces and a sort of palm stone. We've got some snowflake obsidian, some tumbled obsidian. And then one that I really feel resonates quite strongly with her is mahogany obsidian. Let me see that, okay, yeah. This one has a much deeper sensuality to it than the normal obsidians. Mahogany obsidian has that naughty battlefield grrr passion. And I mean by battlefield, you know, when it's all sexual tension, it becomes a little bit of a grrr fest and getting it on and all. All that sort of good stuff. That's what that energy resonates with, and I have quite a few mahogany obsidian pieces actually on my altar within her cauldron, because I really do feel that the mahogany obsidian resonates really, really strongly with her, probably more strongly even than the other obsidians. And the other obsidians work really well because they are a shield against negativity. They are a shield. And I've said time and time again that the Morrigan chooses her children, in my experience, for the people who are shields. And I've even had meditations with her where she said that, you know, people who behave like they think they belong and they behave like swords are not chosen by her, you know, aggressive and hunting out other people and trying to hurt people. The people that she actually really speaks to tend to be shields, people who have defended people, people who have been put through the mill and been able to take the brunt force of that trauma and overcome. So obsidian ties into that shield energy for me, and that is why we use it within a crystal sense. And that's going to tie in nicely to the next stone. You may or may not see these in correspondence lists. I don't know which ones will make an appearance and which ones won't. And the next one is Tiger's Eye. And we've got all kinds of Tiger's Eye. We've got a red Tiger's Eye. We've got some darker, almost blue. This is still got golden sheen through it. I've not got many pieces of the darky bluey one actually. And then the gold. And Tiger's Eye I don't think is going to be on many people's lists, and I think that's a shame, because Tiger's Eye for me is what I often call the shield stone. It's more masculine, but then the Morrigan has masculine energy and feminine energy in folds. Some might argue, you know, oh well, it's a solar energy and you can't have, well, why not? Why not? I don't agree with the idea that she can only be one thing or the other, as I have been saying a lot recently. The red Tiger's Eye is a little bit more on that sensual side, a little bit more like that mahogany obsidian. But I think the Tiger's Eye, with its courage, its shield-like energies, its sort of get up and fight energies, in the sense that it stops you from sinking into self-pity and things like that, are very important. So there's another stone. I would possibly argue for the Morrigan. You can probably argue a lot of stones for her because of her primalness, you know. So what else have we got? You may or not wish to put quartz in for amplifiers. You know, that works on a sort of very generic basis, but I'm not going to include them here. Carnelian. Carnelian is another one of my lesser spirit stones. I connect to my fox energy through Carnelian, and it's all a gift from her, of course. It has that warm fieriness that the Morrigan does have on. It's like a back burner, if that makes sense. That back burner warm energy that's always there when she's present, but not full force. You always feel the warmth of her, and Carnelian, I think, sums that up quite well. I won't be using that on the grid because I've only got 3 spare, the rest are in use. What else did we pick? So I then went with Shell Jasper. Yeah, Shell Jasper. And I will look at the meanings. 1 second. I did have them on there. Let's just show you what they look like, and you can probably see from a visual aspect why I would. They are black and white and grey. They are the balance of all things, so that's very Morrigan. Morrigan within her crow aspect, perhaps. The white and black of crows. You can get white crows before anybody yells at me. There's something about the lightness and the darkness in crystals like this. Often used for protection and grounding. It rejuvenates and strengthens. There you go. So the crystal generic properties of it work well as well, but it's really that black and white, that balance, that tapping into the deeper psyche and the cycles and things like that. I love that shell jasper. I think it's beautiful. And similarly, in a similar vein, we have Tremolite and banded onyx. Let's go over a little. So I think onyx is actually given as one of her stones, thinking about it, but it has that black and white imagery. Let's have a look at generalized meaning, just to remind myself. I've got a feeling it's to do with the dispelling of negativity, if this page will ever load. Come along. Inner strength, physical strength, self-mastery, discipline, reason. Yeah, so it's basically all about the control of the self, and I think that's a very good stone for sort of utilising those Morrigan energies of a warrior, of control, of controlling yourself, of not allowing things to overwhelm you, of getting through. Tremolite is for higher spiritual connections, so it works really well with that, sort of pulling in. It's a good one for balancing heart and mind and keeping those things in balance as well. So that's really great. There are a whole ton of these that I could probably go into, but I think we'll have one more and then I'll make a grid up and I'll show you the grid at the end by the power of editing. So this is Rhodonite, of course. Rhodonite would be on the more passionate side again. It would be on the self-love, self-confidence side again. You know, bringing that sense of self-worth into the equation. And the Morrigan does teach us lessons about ourselves and how to overcome our darkness and how to learn to love ourselves for whom we are. It's often known as the rescue stone. It wards off negativity, clears out the psychic centres, and things of that nature. But one of the reasons I pick it as well is because I have a little almost an obelisk on my altar which has been with me right from the beginning, and it actually looks like the Morrigan, and has a spear and a crow overhead actually within the stone. So it's always been connected to the Morrigan for me personally. So I'm going to set up a grid now and we'll see what it looks like, and then I'll show you at the end. Okie dokie, so then we have the grid, and I've made a couple of adjustments of crystals that weren't in the ones I mentioned. I should have mentioned garnet really, but I talked about it at length in the Morrigan video, so I decided not to. So in the centre is 4 garnets surrounding a tourmaline point, and then 4 petersite. Petersite is known as the lightning stone. Flashes of illumination, helps one to connect to the soul and the higher purpose, as well as courage, tenacity and beauty and things of that nature. It's a strong courage stone and survivor stone. I haven't connected the grid up yet. I will probably do that with my Smoky Quartz double tourmalated point. And then 4 garnet, and I don't think we need to go into it too much. Garnet is a sort of deeply sexual, deeply a little bit blood red stone that I really do associate with the Morrigan. And then we have 4 shell jasper and 4 rhodonite, which we discussed, and then 4 smoky quartz and 4 obsidian, which we discussed. And I don't think we're going to go right out, but if I sort of lift it a little, you can see on the top there 4 tremolite and 4 banded onyx. 4 banded onyx. Right, anyway. So the whole idea behind this is a crystal grid that you create in honour of your deity. So you could use this for, like I said, for any deity. You would just adjust the crystals. So for example, I know that Brenda has a deep commitment to Gaia, so in that circumstance you could use crystals like tree agate or moss agate or aventurine, all sorts of crystals to do with earth energies, and crystals that you felt connected you to your goddess, for example. So for this one I've just put together the ones that I feel best suit Morrigan, and the idea is that I will connect these up in her honour, in her name, just to count myself as being blessed as her daughter. Many blessings.